Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to the temple and to a very special Shabbat, the Martin Luther King Shabbat, honoring the legacy of Martin Luther King of blessed memory. We have a wonderful and exciting speaker today that will be introduced later, so you really don't want to miss this Shabbat. And we begin our service as we sing together, Ma Yafeh Hayom Shabbat Shalom. How beautiful the day is, it is Shabbat. You can use the link in the bottom of the YouTube to follow the prayer book. There is a flipping prayer book there where you can just enjoy the beautiful music and the words of the prayers. I would like to invite now Arnold and Ellen Shakin to lead us with the blessings over the candles and the fruit of the vine. Please turn to page 2 for the blessing over the candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivonu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivonu lihadlik ner shel
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
And we turn now to page 20 to welcome the Sabbath bride, Lecha Dodi.
Dodi,
turn now to page 28 as we rise for the Baruch. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, forcefully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch ata Adonai, Ama'ariv Aravim. And we turn to page 34 for the calling of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be upon your heart, shall be upon your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy
As our ancestors were marching from bondage to freedom and were crossing the Sea of Reeds, they saw their oppressors drowning in the Sea of Reeds, Pharaoh and his chariots, and they couldn't help themselves but start singing. Men and women, children, everyone started together to sing Mi Chamocha. We turn to page 40 to sing just as they did. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch ata Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. We rise as we turn to page 46 for the tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. The great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God, who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to their children's children for the sake of the divine name. Sovereign deliverer, helper and shield, blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper, Abraham's shield. Baruch ata Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. You are forever mighty, Adonai. You give life to all. You cause the wind to shift and rain to fall. You sustain life through love, giving life to all. Through great compassion, supporting the falling, healing the sick, freeing the captive, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of mighty acts? Who resembles you, a sovereign who takes and gives life, causing deliverance to spring up, and faithfully giving life to all. Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. Baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hakol. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated as we turn to page 61 for the blessing for shalom, for peace and wellness and wholeness for all humanity. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch ata Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata melech adon likol hashalom. וטוב בעיניך לברך את tasim leolam, tasim leolam.
We all need healing and courage and strength in our lives, in the life of everyone that is dear to us. The Misha Berach, the prayer for healing and courage and strength, is on page 253.
Before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
May this be a Sabbath of peace. And welcome to Martin Luther King Shabbat here at the Temple. And welcome also to our friend Kevin Shields, who has joined us this evening to share with us words of memory of Dr. King and words of action to continue the work of Dr. King in our own day as well. This week, we read from the Torah portion called Vayera, which means, and I appeared, from the book of Exodus, chapter 6. In it, we begin the journey from slavery to freedom. God appears to Moses and calls him to go unto Pharaoh and to tell him to let my people go. Could there be any more appropriate parsha for this Martin Luther King Shabbat? From slavery to freedom, let my people go. And our guest speaker this evening, Kevin Shields, is a worthy person to bring to talk at this time on that vision, on Dr. King's legacy, but also on what we can do, because he has spent a lifetime, a career in many facets here in Louisville, doing the work of racial justice, helping to build a community which is better than it was before. He offers a wealth of knowledge and expertise concerning urban inner city affairs in Louisville Metro. He has a degree in urban planning from university, but more than that, he has a lifetime degree in the work that he's done. His goal in his current capacity as the president and CEO of Louisville Central Community Center is to provide an organizational community leadership towards enhancing the capacity and the quality of the work that we can do in building a world of peace and justice for us all. Kevin just rejoined us. His computer purposely wanted to give him something to worry about before he began by crashing, but I think we're back up again. Kevin's a good friend. Many of you may know him from the first of the conversations that we began on racial justice earlier in the summer, a program that has continued from that first beginning every month since then. I hope you'll appreciate as much as I will hearing some insights on the memory of Dr. King and the task that lies ahead. Kevin?
Thank you, Rabbi. And first, let me ask, can you hear me okay? I'm on my backup unit, and I want to make sure you can hear me.
I do.
Good.
Benji says
well,
you're
thank you, and Shabbat Shalom to my Jewish brothers and sisters. As Rabbi Rapport mentioned, my name is Kevin Fields. I'm honored to serve as the president and CEO of a community-based nonprofit in West Louisville, known as the Louisville Central Community Center, or LCCC. I do want to certainly thank my dear friend, Rabbi Joe Rooks Rapport, for the invitation to be with you tonight and for his friendship and for his mentorship. He's helping me to grow in the Jewish tradition, and I'm a student now of the Jewish faith. So I'm looking to learn as much as I can. And I certainly want to acknowledge my friends of the Jewish community. And the list is too long to name everybody. But I do want to acknowledge, I'm so glad to see my friends, Arnold and Ellen Shaken, and want to thank them for their friendship. And certainly I need to acknowledge my board member, Robert Sachs. He and his lovely wife, Felice, are great supporters of our organization. And he and others are working with me to continue to build upon the legacy of people like Susie Post and many other great Jewish friends of our organization. I'm honored to be here, and I certainly want to thank the temple for acknowledging our beloved Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. on this day, which would be his 92nd birthday. So we say happy birthday to Dr. King. And, you know, I really wanted just to be here and just to be a part of this Shabbat experience. And I'm really looking to learn as much as I'm here to share. But I do want to reflect on the legacy of Dr. King and what it's meant to me, both personally and professionally, to be a child of the civil rights movement. And we all know Dr. King for his work in transforming the civil rights landscape of our country. But there's a lot more to know about him. And I just want to share just a few reflections in just a few minutes today, because I had a unique experience after all these years of taking a class at Simmons College of Kentucky this past fall. The name of the class was The Radical Dr. King. And it was taught by Dr. Louis Brogdon, who's a King scholar, one of the top King scholars in America. And there was just an all-star group of leaders, thought leaders, intellectuals, and many, many others, Dr. Cornel West and many others who could speak in a very influential way about the impact of the legacy of Dr. King, because we all know that he was assassinated in 1968, some 53 years ago, at the young age of 39. And we know that his impact and his legacy continues today. And I just want to talk about that from a personal perspective, first of all, because I remember the day, April 4th of 1968, the day that King was assassinated. I was a 10-year-old boy living in the projects in the city. And it was a spring day. I remember we were out as kids playing in the community. And then we get home about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and we learned immediately the headlines were glaring. Walter Cronkite was crying. And, you know, the world has never been the same, because what was reported that day was that Dr. King had been shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And from a child's perspective, that became a very, very scary moment because we didn't know what it meant to us as poor Black people already struggling, had a glimmer of hope and a voice of leadership in Dr. King. And so just the memory of that still sticks with me to this day. But then after all these years of working as a professional and doing the community development work and the family services delivery systems that we offer at the center, I took this class. And this class was just a jarring experience because we all know of Dr. King. If someone were to ask you, what do you know about Martin Luther King Jr., you would say that he was a civil rights leader. And you would remember him for the 1963 I Have a Dream speech. And you know, that's about as much as they teach in public school systems about Dr. King. You might read a little bit about his biography, but there's not a lot to really know. But the class taught us how much more of a person he was as an intellectual, one of the world's greatest thought leaders. And if we go back and just relive some of the speeches that he gave, he was a prophet who predicted our current situation. In fact, Dr. King, the year before he was assassinated, was interviewed by NBC News. And at that time, this was about 4 years after the I Have a Dream speech. And, you know, he made some very provocative statements. One of the statements he made was, my dream has turned into a nightmare. And he also is known to have said that the weekend before he was assassinated, had he made it to church that Sunday morning, the topic of his sermon would have been, America may go to hell. And so, and what's meant by that is that he was very much disillusioned after the I Have a Dream speech, which is probably the seminal moment that helped us as a country to adopt the Civil Rights Bill. The Civil Rights Bill of 1964, which is the only seminal bill ever passed by the American government system that was aimed at addressing the plight of the Black community. Prior to that, segregation, Jim Crow, all of those things that have plagued us to this day were the law of the land. But that act helped to alleviate some of the policy and legal implications of that day. But King had become disillusioned. So he made a few statements, and there's a video you can check out on YouTube that speaks to that. But he made a few statements. He says, I must confess that the dream that I had in many points has turned into a nightmare. And he said that he'd gone through a lot of soul searching, and that he realized that some of the optimism that he had operated on based on his faith was very superficial. And he was talking about the realities of America. So when you come to this current day and you realize what to this day still plagues America, extreme political polarization that we're witnessing in the highest offices of our American government system, that undergirded by centuries of systemic racism that we have yet to overcome, but that we are still committed to that vision of overcoming. So what does that mean? So I'm in many circles of this community where many groups are talking about how do we address racial equity? How do we dismantle systemic racism? What do we need to do to really achieve justice, social, economic, racial, in our court systems, criminal justice systems? How do we really get to this idea of justice? Well, I think that's the opportunity for leaders in our community to come together and really, really do the work. And I'm beginning to form an opinion. And the opinion is, while I hear many folks, and I'm pleased and I'm inspired and I'm motivated when I hear many folks talk about these issues with a heightened sense of sincerity, a heightened sense of sensitivity, but it's a lot of talk. And my pet phrase has become, if we're going to talk the talk, we have to be willing to walk the walk. And so what does walking the walk mean? Well, it means when we are addressing systems in our community, systems that have preserved poverty, systems that have maintained the status quo when it comes to power bases, power structures in our community, and therefore have excluded those who are disenfranchised and have been left behind for decades. And I'm speaking, of course, about the African American community and other economically disenfranchised parts of our country. If we're going to walk the walk, then that means we need to look at those systems and really take a hard look at what it means to dismantle them. And so that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. I'm pleased to be working with groups in our community, such as the Chamber of Commerce, Greater Louisville, Inc., has adopted a concept of the Business Council to End Racism. I love the talk, I love the tag, but what does it mean to walk the walk? How do we get our corporate community to really address these systemic issues in ways that everybody can appreciate? And one of the things that happens, it's in this country, and I learned this in the course, is there's a wealth gap that has only widened over the past few decades. And the white wealth accumulation has increased at an exponential rate since the 60s. So we have to look at those issues and really rethink what it means to bring the bottom up and begin to close those kinds of gaps. I'm also working with the Downtown Rotary, a group that is predominantly older white males, which I'm pleased to say are open to the idea of how do we add more diversity in our leadership ranks, how do we bring in the younger generation, because if we don't, the Rotary could really just dissipate over time if we don't have the newer generations coming into that organization. So it's networks like that that we want to network with, and I'm so excited to be able to connect with Rabbi Rapport and learn what the Jewish community is doing and other thought leaders are doing in working with him and many, many others to address these concerns. So I'm really just excited to have this opportunity tonight. I did have a slideshow to show to support some of these so you can see some visuals along with these words, but lo and behold, technology has failed once more. So we learn not to depend on it. We got to have backup systems. Thank God we had a backup tonight. But I'm just grateful for the opportunity to do what we do in our community, being a product of urban inner city environment and having a life experience coupled with a professional experience and an educational foundation and position in a corporate setting such as Louisville Central Community Center, where we can really demonstrate leadership and demonstrate impact and real change. But it means walking the walk and encouraging others to walk with us. So thank you again for tonight. This has been super experience. And again, I'm here to learn, and I appreciate, I'm so honored with the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation, whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we remember especially Marianne Morgulen, John A. D'Angelo, Lee Morgulen, Elizabeth Weinberg, Leon E. Hirsch Sr., Rosalie Lederer, Seymour Bernstein, Esther Robinson, Ben Lowenstein, Hattie Klein, Ronnie Gladstein, Julie Singer, Marshall Cooper, Martin Ehrlich, Miriam Weil, Curtis Rockefeller, Moose Cohen, Evelyn Bader, Florence Nebo, Norton Garone, Hattie Grossman, Ivan Greenspan, Harold Heikin, Joanne Musicante, Leon Sebo, Greg Gingold, Louis Jewell, Anna Bellman, Nettie Y. Schwartz, James Rosenblum, Stanley Lehman, Jack Goldberg, David Alexander Zaks, Juliet Karp, David Gumberg, Kimberly Goldberg, Morris Berman, Edith Gruber, Helen Katz, Stephen Frocht, Lois Stern, Sherry Stifler, S. Miller, Horst Blank, Chris Alfonso, Selma Merenblum, Jean Morris, Isabel Schechter, Molly Klein, Jane Weinberg, and in recent days, Mercedes Neiber, Margalit Bat Yoshua ve'Alegra Ben Avi. We think of our loved ones, whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. With the blessed memories from our loved ones in our hearts, we turn to page 294 for the mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. זיכרונם לברכה, may the memory of our loved ones come to be a blessing and a benediction to us all. Our closing song is We Shall Overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We
יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אמותינו, שתוליכנו לשלום. May it be your will, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors, that we will always be guided for shalom, for peace and wellness and well-being, and that you always protect us on our journey. Bless our work, and may we always find grace and loving kindness and compassion in your eyes, in the eyes of everyone that sees us. Adonai Shalom, bless us with a Shabbat of Shalom. Shalom to our bodies, to our minds, and to our souls. Shabbat Shalom.
Then, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.